What if the legendary beasts, the fire-breathing giants of Europe, the winged serpents of Mesoamerica, the sky-soaring guardians of the East, weren't born from pure imagination, but from something real? All across the ancient world, cultures separated by oceans told stories of enormous reptilian creatures, serpents who whispered prophecies, winged monsters who guarded treasure or brought rain, and beasts who ruled the skies and seas long before man ever walked upright. But why? Why are dragon myths so universal? Maybe the answer lies not in myth, but in the stone. Because modern science is beginning to uncover ancient creatures, real ones, whose remains just might explain how dragon legends began. Imagine stumbling upon the fossilized skull of a mosasaur, a marine predator over 50 feet long, with jaws filled with jagged reptilian teeth, or the immense wing bones of a Quetzalcoatlus, a flying reptile with a wingspan the size of a small aircraft. These weren't dragons in myth. They were real prehistoric giants, and their remains are turning up all over the world. Recent paleontological discoveries have revealed terrifyingly massive creatures. Colossal mosasaurs who ruled ancient oceans like scaled leviathans. Quetzalcoatlus, a creature of the skies so large, scientists once questioned whether it could even fly. Now we know it soared. Its beak alone was longer than a human. Its wings stretched nearly 12 meters. It cast a shadow like a low-flying plane over a world with no other flying predators to challenge it. To early humans, or even civilizations, just a few thousand years later, stumbling across a skeleton like this would be like unearthing a god or a monster. Add to that the thick plate-like armor of ancient crocodilians, or the serpentine spine of giant fossilized snakes. Put all those elements together, and you start to see something that looks a lot like a dragon. Long before paleontology, humans were already discovering bones. But they didn't see species. They saw signs, portents, proof of creatures that had once walked the earth or ruled it. Imagine being an early human, walking a riverbank or mountainside and finding a massive skull. No name, no explanation, no reference point. Just raw awe and fear. We now believe that early dragon myths may have been sparked by fossil encounters. Long-forgotten moments when humans unearthed the remains of creatures so large, so alien, they had no choice but to interpret them through story, and not just in one place. From China to Scandinavia, from Peru to Persia, these stories emerged independently, but with familiar ingredients. Reptilian form, immense size, wings, claws, or armored scales, power, wisdom, or destruction. Coincidence or common experience? Let's look at a few examples. In medieval Europe, dragons hoarded gold and guarded secrets. They were monstrous and malevolent, often living in caves or beneath mountains. In many stories, they were serpent-like, long-bodied, winged, clawed, much like the skeletal frame of a pterosaur. These stories may have grown from the discovery of fossils near old mining sites, where miners found bones they couldn't explain. The dragon, then, was both a curse and a warning. Do not disturb what sleeps below. Now contrast that with China's dragons, long, elegant serpents with celestial associations. They brought rain. They controlled rivers. They were wise, not wicked. The Chinese dragon, long, was often linked to the divine and believed to live beneath water or in the clouds. Interestingly, China is also one of the most fossil-rich countries in the world. In fact, the Chinese word for fossil literally means dragon bone. Local apothecaries sold ground-up fossil bone as long gu, dragon bone, for medicinal use for centuries. Now shift to the Americas. Among the Maya and Aztec, we find Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, a sky being a god of wind, wisdom, and resurrection. Is it coincidence that the real-world Quetzalcoatlus, the flying reptile with one of the largest wingspans of any known creature, was later discovered in what is now Texas and Mexico? The fossil and the god share a name, one in science, one in story, but perhaps both rooted in the same ancient impressions. Here's where myth and science begin to intertwine. No, dragons didn't breathe fire. They didn't speak in riddles or guard princesses in towers. But those details came later. What they did share, across nearly every culture, were the traits of real prehistoric giants. Gigantic-sized wings or elongated bodies, scales or armored hides, command of land, sea, or sky, and a sense of primal power. Myth amplified what fossilized reality whispered. Over centuries, oral traditions turned skeletons into stories. Then, as those stories evolved, they were painted into murals, carved into temples, and eventually written into epics. Dragons were born in imagination, but their bones may have been born in the ground. So, were dragons real? Not exactly, but the creatures that inspired them may have been, and their bones still lie beneath our feet, waiting to be rediscovered and reinterpreted. Because sometimes myth isn't fantasy, it's memory, distorted by time, reframed by culture, and passed down in the only language humans truly understand: story. So the next time you hear a dragon tale, don't just think myth, think evolution, think interpretation, and think about how our ancestors, standing at the mouth of a cave, staring at bones too massive to comprehend, did what we always do: they made meaning.